Hello, my friends. Welcome back. We're going to talk today about the art of noticing. And many of you have been watching me have a renaissance in some of the layers of my YouTube channel where actually I'm practicing some of this taking in the small moments and appreciating and being aware myself of what's happening in the little details. And I've been practicing an attention muscle. I'm sure the rest of you are like me, where you have seen the change in your attention span. You know, we don't have board time in the checkout line or at the DMV anymore. And so my mind, as busy as it is, has definitely gotten a little more squirrely. But the art of noticing is actually something of purpose in my life. And I actually thought that some of you guys that I've been chit-chatting with back and forth on YouTube would actually appreciate this conversation. And so I am opening it up to you. I would love to hear comments back and forth. And I think some of it is coming from a sense of getting older and the passage of time. And, you know, you come to terms pretty hard after the midpoint of your life that time is not infinite, it's finite, but that the work and the projects and all the things to do are infinite, or like they're endless. And actually, even if you don't count your 9 to 5 and the things that you have to do to provide for your family, if you're just talking about like retirement and their time is your own, you will still fill it with things of responsibility and projects, things to fix, things to maintain, phone calls to make. Like that list is supposed to be a never ending. Like it's part of purpose. It's part of staying alive to living, which is a big deal in my life, to stay engaged. I had two impacting stories that kind of get me to the art of noticing and with a purpose. And that is, I had an old neighbor guy. His name was Bruce Price, and he's since passed away, a long time ago actually now. And he was the 7th born in a family of 9 who lived through the recession. And I'm talking hardcore. His best friend, family of 7, froze and starved to death down the road from him during that time. So he was an absolute miser, and he was very tied to his thrift and his money, and he wasn't gentle about it. He was a blister. And I served and loved him for 10 years and had a friendship with him in the midst of like literally the best curmudgeon. If I ever have to write curmudgeons in my stories, I would have a reference point for sure. But one of the things that happened to him is he had an amputation from the knee down happen because of an infection, but it wasn't from type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes. It just happened. And so it limited his life. And after that point, he still lived for another 30 years or more. But he lost his zest. He lost his zest because everything that he enjoyed became repetitive to him. So he was an avid fisher and hunter back in the day. Obviously, he could still read the magazines and enjoy the shows on TV and this and that, but he quit choosing to enjoy them because he said that it got repetitive. And that caught my attention back then, and I've spent years kind of meditating on that idea. Like, how do you stay engaged in being alive to life? Because there is a repetition and a passage of time that it has, like every day has a rhythm to it. You know, how much time do we spend eating and sleeping and showering and taking care of and grooming ourselves? Like that stuff is very repetitive. And if you have hobbies, there is a rhythm and a routine to that too. And sometimes the rhythms can be a joy, and sometimes those rhythms can actually be bossy and they tell you what to do, and it's not a pleasant thing. Like every blessing has its frustration as well. So and then the other impacting story, and I'll loop these guys into the art of noticing and what I mean by that and what I think you guys would appreciate. And I'm assuming that you guys, the reason that you like me as a channel is because of pieces of this practice. My great-grandma, Grace, her name was Great-Grandma Grace. My kids called her Great-Great-Little Grandma. So, because she was very tiny. She was just a short little thing. She was the same way. She had all kinds of passions, and she lived to be 96. And towards the end of her life, she didn't want to read books anymore. She didn't want to stay, even TV shows. She says it's like flat pop. They're all the same. So, again, those two sat really close. Both of them were aged. They were much older. They were, 80s and 90s when they were saying that to me. And I was like, oh, good Lord, if you get sour to life, this life can feel really long, and really, it could breed a discontentment just like that. And and I wish I could remember the name of the book, but there was a book I read that had to do with a monk who became a monk and was a monk for, I don't know, 3 or 6 years. And then he decided not to be a monk anymore. So he wrote a book on the impact of being a monk for that amount of time had on him. And one of the things he talked about was there was a practice in the monks' world where they went for a 3-mile walk, and they walked the same path every day, and that they were supposed to notice something different every single day. And he talked about the way that it doesn't slow down time, but it can hold it for just a second. And so that is a piece for me. The art of noticing is important for me, to slow down time, not slow it down, because you can't really slow time. It's just whipping all the time. But you can hold on to it for a second. And I guess it's a practice of contentment and gratitude mixed in there. And that zest, the zest to stay alive, to living. For me, it's like the parts where, when you're staying alive with the zest, it's like you're just engaged with the things. You're not like you're not being passive or reluctant. You're actually engaged in them in a wholehearted way. And I'm not talking about over the top passion and being zippy and zany and bouncing off the walls. Not like you can't do that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about flexing my attention muscle and keeping my appetite for life in play. You know, getting older is one of the hardest things that we do as human beings. And the more I observe the people that are ahead of me, the more I understand that the older you get, the bigger the grief is, the harder life is, because the more people you love, the more pain you eat. And because you love them, you eat their pain too. And so the attention to detail is a muscle that I flex on purpose to stay current with the zest of my life. I try to hold on to those small moments. And again, it can be an antidote to the noise and the fast and the busy, the things that are irritating. Like, even if you're annoyed with the rowdy room or the noise, somebody has their music up too loud or whatever, you can actually choose to find something in that noise that you can hear, that you're listening to. It's like choosing to let your body relax into it and hear beyond. And that can be the art of noticing, that can bring a physical contentment in a restless situation. And I know for my writing world, it's a creative eye too. It actually sparks creativity to notice what's ordinary that every human being faces, to notice the unordinary, where it's unique and it's maybe forgotten. It's so routine that people just skip right over it. So it can be the writer's phrase or the artist eye. You know, have you ever been one of those people who does like tea stain? If there's a tea stain on a paper, you can see a picture in it. Or if the tile on the floor has a certain pattern, you can see a pattern. Or, you know, the kid version of that was to see the animals in the cloud, to see the things in the cloud. And, you know, there's times when it's repetitious. Like when my kids were young, we built a fence around our yard to make sure they were safe from the road. And then for months after that, everywhere we went, my husband noticed the fences, everybody's fence. And so it's like, what? And then I've seen people with Jeeps. If you're a Jeep person, then you notice all the Jeeps. Or slug bug, when we finally had to get our kids to stop doing that. And I was the worst culprit. It took me weeks to quit seeing every VW bug that was out there. So, but in that, there is an art of noticing, of flexing that muscle. I think for our nervous systems and our quality of life to hang on to hope and joy, I think it's important to notice what makes us laugh, and to really know what makes us laugh. When you need medicine, laughter is a medicine. And when you need to know what makes you laugh so that you can go back to it and revisit it. And I was a high school volleyball coach for over a decade, and I would get emotional when the victories would happen, or when a kid would overcome, or after a broken bone or a hurt knee, they would return to play. And I would get these tears that weren't sad. And so I started to try to notice for my writing career what my tears meant. And you know, your tears mean 30 different things. You can have tears for all kinds of experiences. I'm trying to write the capture in story form. I'm trying to capture the sense of reunion, when like the military reunions, when they come home and they get that big come together hug. I see you, I haven't seen you in forever. And the dad surprises the kid at school. That's noticing, like, what are my tears caused by? What makes me feel in a story? And all of that for me is a practice of patience, because patience is a weakness, and I'm not sure if any of you can identify. I would hope to think that some of you guys don't have it to the same Achilles heel weakness that I have. I hope you have it less than me. But patience is a practice that I have to actually do, or I will lose my zest for life, like my great little grandma and Mr. Price. Because patience comes from being content in what you have now and not wishing you were somewhere else or having a different experience. And that was kind of where they got stuck into for that long end season. So, I'm having a cup of tea. It's warm, it's sweet, it tastes good, and the cup is one that my daughter-in-law gave me with sweet peas, which was my mom's favorite flower. And, you guys have seen me with the journals. I'll probably do more things about the different ways that I journal in for why. And I hope that these kinds of conversations are warm and inviting to you, and that they would actually spark life in you, spark creativity in you, that it would help you to hold time for just a second longer to appreciate its unfolding instead of being whipped about by it, that there would be pockets of gratitude to discover and all of that. So I'm happy to come on here. I used to, a long time ago, I had a podcast, and I did it for a couple years, and I called it Life Paraphrased, because I'm not good at following a true teaching outline or whatever. I've got lots of rabbit trails and stories, but I'm not a lighthearted person. I like to think deeply, and I like to ponder deep thought. And I would invite you to share this kind of outlet with me. And if you have any like phrases or definitions of words that make you that hit you when I was talking, that you would share with me, I would love it. I would want you to feel a sense of belonging, to come on over. Like I said, our time is so precious, and if you've spent your time with me, I want to thank you, because it's a big deal. And I'm hoping that if you are sitting there and you're getting ready to start a really busy day that has a lot of repetitious, mundane, whatever, that you would also make yourself aware of something beautiful. If a hummingbird zips by, or your rose is in perfect bloom, or, some person walks on the sidewalk and they have a dog that looks just like them, kind of like, was that The Fox and the Hound? No, 101 Dalmatians, where they always said that people buy dogs that look like them. Have mercy. All right, so that's it for now. That's an episode of me chitty-chatting over a cup of tea, talking about the art of noticing. And I hope that you'll leave me a comment. Have a good day.